Something that I would like to share with you a little bit more before we continue to the session is that when I was one of the volunteer for the first Eco Film Festival back in 2008. Back then, I was still a youth by definition, yeah. And since then, for 14 years in a row, I've been involved in the film festival and Eco Nights until this year, and now I'm the festival director. But what I'm trying to say to all of you is like, it's never too late to start. You're never too young to lead, and always take the opportunity to be part of something meaningful for yourself and for the people and for the community. Before I continue, I would like to also thank the supporter of this program. This program is fueled by Global Environment Facility Small Grant Program, GFSGP, by UNDP, United Nations Development Program Malaysia, and led by Econex. So some of the housekeeping rules that I would like to share with you is that, of course, number one, this session will be recorded and published on our website and social media. So if you do not want to be featured, you can turn off your camera. Um, I would like to also remind everyone to mute your call or your speaker at all times, and do not, as to not disturb the ongoing discussion. Please also rename your Zoom profile. I can see some of the names are very interesting. I hope that's your name. If not, we hope that you can change to your name so that we can identify you as attendees to the dialogue as how you registered or what you registered in your name. All questions during the Q&A session, we can send it to the chat box, and it will be addressed as much as we can during the Q&A on the second phase of this program. There will also be a quick photography session before the end. I know we mentioned that if you don't want to be featured, you can turn off your camera, but we hope that towards the end, everyone can turn on your camera so that we can take a snapshot of your participation. And finally, everyone here will receive an e-certificate that will be sent to you, directly to your email. Okay, so before we start to the presentation segment by our speakers, I will also share with you the speakers' profile as we go later. Today's session is about digital advocacy in conjunction with the World Environment Day. All right, in today's world, everybody is on social media. You, me, everyone, especially the youth. With unlimited access to new information, we learn about the world's latest victory or downfall every single day at the tip of our finger, right? So everything is accessible quickly. With new technologies, digital tools, and tactics, it has shed a new light on how societies of the 21st centuries tackle the issues at hand. What we can learn from this is that there's no better way to spread awareness than using online platform, especially when we are all locked down at our own home. We can't do so many things outside. What can we do, with the, between this wall of our home? Hence, why we have bring together three amazing women who have been championing different, but yet, to me personally, important causes. Of course, I know them for a while already. Of course, some of them more than a few years, to share with us about the power of storytelling through audio-visual materials, right? And this is very important because I also would like to learn from them about how they use this platform to spread the awareness, to spread their cause, something they believe in. All right. So I would like to introduce the speakers for today's dialogue, and we will begin the program with a 10 minutes presentation from each of the speakers. Okay. So I would like to welcome the first presenter, Lara Arifin, to the virtual stage to share Novista's Media latest online documentary called Laya Lia. So before that, some profile, a bit of profile about Lara Arifin. Lara is an architect who turned film to be a filmmaker for more than 20 years and has produced more than 50 nature films. She's both producer and editor at Novista Media, her company with her husband Harun Rahman, who I also know personally and very well, a director and a cameraman. Powerful couple, we call it, right? Lara is responsible for production at all levels, such as research and development, directing, executive producing, and her passion is always revolves around architect, history, and wildlife. She has the eyes for details and has produced many award-winning documentaries. Believe me, I've seen many of her documentaries, and they were all great and really mesmerizing and wonderful. And she's also the founder of Rimau. This is something that we would like to know more also later. Rimau, a non-governmental organization, an NGO that focuses on saving the Malayan tiger. We'd like to know why she's really into saving the Malayan tiger. And since the inception, they have made several conservation films and has set up they set up with the Perak State Park in Royal Belum, a Jahai petrol unit called the Menrak, to help protect the poachers. So without further ado, I would like to invite Lara Arifin, my dear friend, to please share your presentation. Please.
Thank you so much, Fadli. Thank you, actually, thank you to Project Vocal and to inviting me to come and chat with you guys. I consider this an informal chat. I hope that that we can be pretty casual and you guys can ask me anything you want. But I wanted to really, I was thinking about it last night when I was preparing or some thoughts for it, and the reality, what struck me most is that, oh my God, everybody's so young, right? And I don't really fit into the youth group anymore. Definitely not. So what I wanted to do today, if you don't mind, is to actually share with you the journey that we've taken, Harun and I have taken to get here where we are now, and to just share with you that if you want to take on making documentaries as a career, not just sikit-sikit, I put it on, but for us it's been a career, a long career, and to show that how it's possible. So if you don't mind, I sort of share my screen with you, if possible, and sort of share a little bit of the stories about how we got to where we are now, and what we're doing currently. Possible, yeah? So I'm going to share my screen. This one, share sound, share. Okay, can you guys hear me and see the picture?
Yes, we can.
So, technically, this is Harun and I I think this is actually before we got married, even. And as I said, I felt was a bit strange for to be talking about youth and digital advocacy. But actually, I think about it, hello, we were young too once upon a time. And for us, even though we don't fall into that category, what I want to do today, as I mentioned, is to share with you how we can give you some tips on how to navigate into becoming a storyteller that for your whole career. So I think I want to start off with really sharing a little bit about Novista. So Novista was really set up by Harun, and he was very young. He was only 26. He came back from the States, and when he first came back, he was working mainly on dramas and absolutely hated it, guys. Absolutely said it's better to work with animals than with actresses. They have he just couldn't tahan it anymore. So he said, that was it, I give up. And he set up his own company. And at that, he was determined to only do nonfiction films. So from a very, I would say, young age, he had a clear path at what he wanted to do and what he didn't want to do. And I think that's also very important when you want to make a decision of, where you want to go, what kind of hala tuju, I guess, to a certain extent, what you want to do. So I've got to give it to him. I think he was very hardworking, but he did have the support of his family. and he also had one client to start the company with. So he had already one client that sort of got the ball rolling, um, and just to share with you guys, at that time, gosh, we were still shooting on tape. Okay, no talking about digital. What digital? Everything was analog in those days, and in those days, to buy a camera or editing equipment cost a lot of money. So I mean, you're talking about at least 40,000-50,000 ringgit just to buy a camera in those days. To set up an equipment setup would have cost you $200,000 in those days. So that's how times have changed. Now it's so much easier, but in those days it was really tough. But he was determined to get the company going, and we sort of started off. So for me, I was at that time when we first got married, I was like looking at all the things that he was doing, and I was like, gee, this is really a lot of fun, and I sort of love the idea of learning something new on every project that we did, or he did in the initial stage. So it wasn't long until I sort of said, I give up architecture and joined him sort of full time. And I sort of just learned the trade from him. So even editing, right? I just sat behind Harun and I would just be absorbing all this, what he was doing, the actual editing process. I actually just learned from sitting behind him. So again, that's one more message I want to tell you. People say, oh, you're not trained to do that. You can say, I can do it. If you really want to do something, don't make, whatever another person says you can't do it, matter. You should be determined and say that you can do it. So tak ada official training pun tak apa, So I think Harun and I, in our early stages, we were so always excited about all the things that you could do. My God, we had stories coming out. Oh, should we do this? Can we do a story on that, or a story on this? And I think the enthusiasm and the excitement, about storytelling or writing stories was always there for us. So I think this is how far it goes back. Astro had just been launched in Malaysia. And so we pitched a documentary series to them called Warisan Samudra. And it was all about the underwater world of Malaysia. And we did 26 episodes of this. And, from that, we really managed to see a lot of Malaysia. And at the same time, we've always, even from that time, I wanted to always put a message of conservation in our work. Even from that Warisan Samudra punya time. I want to just make my slide go down, and it's not going down. Anyway, so Warisan Samudra was sort of the start of us doing more and more work. As you can see, that's Harun and I in this shot in Sipadan many moons ago. But at the same time, we were also starting a family. So we have two girls. So we were both very young parents. I was 26 when I had 27 when I had my first daughter. So, I mean, you guys are all going through that now, and you tend to wonder, can I juggle both together? Can I have a career? Can I have my children, and making sure that they have, good education, being able to put them through school and university. That also had to play an important role in us. And I think one of the things that we had to ensure that the business side of it was a success. So I think, with all of you young people now going into that sort of stage in life, career and family always is a constant juggle. And it's hard. But one of the blessings that we had in 97, there was a terrible economic crash in Malaysia. You guys are too young to know about that. And we had to move our office back home. And actually, that was the best thing that ever happened to us. We had a home office where we were able to work, all crazy hours of the night when the kids were asleep, but we were always there with them. So I think that balance was also good for us, having that combination of your family is part of your work. It almost becomes all encompassing for us, which I think, moving forward is something very important. So in terms of a business model, even though through hard times, there's always a constant challenge of doing work, which is a little bit on the corporate side. Even though we were doing nonfiction, we did have to do corporate work. But sometimes we found that the corporate work gave us enough income to do the work for the soul. So sometimes we did a balance, we did quite a bit of corporate work just to get the bills paid. And then we were able to then do stuff that meant everything to us, so it was always that kind of combination. But Warisan Samudra was sort of the water side. And then we ended up doing a lot of nature docs. And it was, that's Harun and I again there. We did, we were in the jungle all the time as much as we could get. And we loved it. And we ended up doing like tree climbing and, sort of learning all the new skills that one can do. But at the same time, when we were telling stories, we were always trying to find stories that could last for a long time. So, for example, if we made a film on Sabah parks, we were never interested in saying, oh, this is the park headquarters, this is this is that. All we were interested is always the animals and the plants that live within an area. And we always found that those stories became timeless. You could watch those films from 30 years ago and it doesn't change because the animal still does and still, does those things. And you could be immersed in the nature of the natural life of animals, and it doesn't matter if it was filmed 30 years ago. So I think also finding a story that is not just sementara, which I find that's what life is today. You watch something and then it sort of disappears in 15 seconds or 20 seconds. We can talk about this later. But for me, I think we were more interested in trying to make films that could last longer. So, I mean, and one of the other things I wanted to share with you is that life is about learning things. Okay, sorry, this is us now filming in the jungle still with the leeches. But one of the things that I wanted to share with you is to be prepared to sort of grow in your your development has to sort of, you've got to develop as a person, but you've also got to your skills have got to develop. So for example, we did our first documentary for National Geographic in 2007, and that was the Smart Tunnel. And believe me, we didn't know squat about some of the things that they were asking. Annotated script, blah, and I was like, oh, what the hell is an annotated script, And so our degree of learning was so steep, and I found that right through our career, that's what you constantly have to do, guys, in terms of constantly learn. You think you know something, but tomorrow or a month comes along and you have to learn something new. And I think Harun is really good at. He loves reading manuals and he loves watching like tutorials on how to get things done. So for me, even like, we've had to go from analog to digital, from digital cameras that are this big. Now we're using small cameras. You've got to know how it works. We've gone to now using drones. Now we are filming on VR. So your progression, you've got to keep track. You can't like fall behind. And I think that for you guys, you've got to keep, making sure that you keep aware of the latest technology available. So, and as a company for Novista, we've had many young people come in and worked with us. We've had so many interns come in, and believe me, Amira, who is standing right beside me right now, she's been with us came in as an intern, but now has been here, 7 years? Yeah, 8 years. So, and we love working with young people, but I think we also realize that when young people come in from university, I don't think you learn much from university at all or from college. The reality is you learn everything on the job. I would say majority come in and they're so what am I supposed to do, and they don't understand very much. So the reality is, be prepared to you need the experience in those first few years. Don't think you're going to jump straight away and understand everything. Give yourself time to learn on the job and be patient with yourself. But I think one of the things that I think is important for to succeed in this kind of career is you need a really good attitude. You've got to be interested in what you're doing. And if you're not interested, to expand your knowledge. If you're not interested in information that's around you, give up now, then stop and do something else. I think you've got to be hardworking. I think, doing documentaries takes a lot of research, a lot of time to analyze a subject really well. And again, like, if you're only interested in jalan senang and cepat, leave the room and don't bother. This is not the career for you. I've always said to everybody that comes in and works with us is you've got to be meticulous, and it's really all in the details. And the last thing, I think, if you need to be passionate about what you do. And sometimes when you're young, you're not sure at what you're passionate about. Give yourself time and try out different things. But I think at the end of the day, without passion, you will not be able to fly. You will just be like that, So you need to have that passion built into you to be able to soar. If you ask me, how much time have I spoken on? How much time do I have? So,
a little bit more.
A little bit more time? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we've always believed in making films for change. And we've always thought it's important to have a message across. And over the last few years, we've done so many films on tigers, worked with different NGOs, offered our services either at real basic costs or sometimes for free. I currently now, anything that Jabatan Perilitan wants, I'll do for them for free. Anything to do with tigers, that's all. Everything to do with tigers, I'm willing to do any kind of message, information out to get that word out. So I think, of course, tigers is something that we're very close to our heart. I was frustrated with how little was being done a few years ago, and that's why I set up Rimau, my own NGO, and our concentration is really just for tigers and primarily, not even awareness, primarily for us it's boots on the ground first. So all our efforts is really about trying to create the enough patrollers on the ground. So I use the videos really to get funding. Sometimes I make films and I show to a potential funder. They love what they see. And then they hopefully give us money that we can then put for boots on the ground. We, of course, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to do certain things for certain purposes. So we've also made a film called Malaysia's Last Tigers, and that's coming out hopefully either in late August or September. And that is sort of a 4-year effort. So again, when you think you're going to make a film, take a day to finish a film, ours is a little bit different. I think Malaysia's Last Tigers has taken 4 years to make, from the time that we came up with the idea and said how passionate we are. We filmed along the way over this period of time. And then we had to get funding for the film. And then now the film has been, we have a distributor based in London, and the film is going to be distributed already all over Europe and Asia. So coming soon. Yeah. So I think that's exciting. I mean, that's, of course, a different part of my feelings, because you sort of, wow, that is, yay, my film is being showed all over the world, but that's more the ego side, if you ask me, and not so much the what we need to do. Rimau is what we need to do, get boots on the ground, get money to get patrollers on the ground. So I think there's different elements of it. But lastly, I just wanted to share with you something that we're doing right now. I'm just going to go straight to the trailer. It's called Laya Lia. I think bawa lagi. Let me just skip. Laya Lia. Okay, so this is the trailer for Laya Lia. So let me tell you why Laya Lia came about. My frustration in Malaysia that we don't know anything about our animals. Um, I think I went to a school up in Ulu Perak somewhere and asked the kids, dalam hutan kita ada apa? And giraffe came out and zebra. And I'm like, oh, we are in trouble. And I think, again, the problem with Malaysia is we don't even know what we have. You know, we don't know all the amazing animals that we have. And you know, there's a famous Malay saying, tak kenal maka tak cinta, right? So this is what Laya Lia is about. Novista is producing 52 documentaries, 19 on animals, 17 on places, and 16 on people, I think, to highlight. And this is going to be on YouTube and available for everybody. We want to create a knowledge bank of information. So if you wanted to see something on clouded leopard, which is going to be our first episode, which is coming out next Friday, you'll be amazed that because we're using some amazing camera trap footage never seen before of wild animals in the jungle. So what we want to do is, this is almost like a gift for us. You know, we're giving back to Malaysians. Use this as a resource for you to understand, what does a orangutan eat, for example? Or why is it important that we want to keep our elephants in the jungle? What role do they play to make sure that everything is in balance for you and me at the end of the day? COVID, we know, is a problem that is caused by us screwing up this planet already, you know? So for us, Laya Lia is like a bank of information. And so, you know, for us, it's also difficult to think of sort of how do we attract younger people to watch this. This is, of course, for schools. And we've done workbooks as well, all in Bahasa Malaysia. So that's the difference. There's English content out there. This content is all going to be in Bahasa, which is what we think is critical for the Malaysian audience. Again, you know, English is not the primary language when you go to schools. So Laya Lia is going to be all in Bahasa. And, you know, I've had to, when I spoke to Amira and Navin, I said, we've also got to, you know, look at how do we promote. So we've even come up with TikTok, right, Amira? It's like, how do I go down? Yeah, and play. So yep, so we've got even a TikTok punya you know, video every day on Malaysian wildlife and people. So I think for us, we are also trying to have to think differently. But at the same time, what's the core behind our work is always the research. The you know, it's about making sure you're factually correct. And for us, I guess we've done this for so long. We always also want to make sure that the quality that we provide and of our films is up there. You know, it is you're going to be blown away by how beautiful some of the stuff that we've got for you. So yeah, so please follow us on Laya Lia. Starting next week will be our first episode. And with that, I'm going to say thank you. And if you want any other questions, I'm willing to answer.
I'm sure. Yeah, thank you so much, Lara. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, we know it's slightly longer than the time, but no worries, because I personally know how passionate you are, and all the years that we've known each other, never once when we meet that we don't have anything to talk about. And it's always something to share, and always inspired by your passion in doing. In fact, you help us a lot in our KL Eco Film Fest. Support us. So thank you for that. But there's a lot of things that I can sort of recap, but I will probably recap slightly later. Yeah. Without further ado, I would like to call or welcome the second presenter, Takahara Suiko. Sorry, his name is so unique, Takahara Suiko, to the virtual stage.
Hello.
Yes. So a little bit on Takahara Suiko, or Taka. As you know, she is a lyricist, composer, and producer, and have released over 200 songs and 2 commercial albums under the band Benopin Solitude, and their solo project Biona since 2009. And of course, 3 of their songs were included in the soundtrack of the Netflix documentary Shirkers, shortlisted under the Best Documentary category for the 91st Oscar. Something that you all should be looking forward to listen to. Of course, Taka always feel, I know Taka always feel a bit like, this is a bit cringe, but I personally, okay, this is a personal story. I knew Taka when we were doing the clef, I think back in 2016 or 17.
15.
15. Okay, 15. I was earlier. Sorry about that. I got lost track of time. You know, because the Green Vibes, one of the component under Clef, I take personal interest in it, like very personal interest, because in 2008, when I was the volunteer for the Clef, the first Eco Film Fest, I was the head volunteer for the music section. So I was handling all the music section, getting like even that time ZRV and yeah, and all them, you know, Stone Bay, One Buck Shots to perform. And then every year I was like, okay, I need to bring the best, the coolest bands, the coolest people to perform at Clef, because people are not really into documentary film yet at that time. So we have to balance with music and arts and stuff. So I personally found Taka. I was like, this is so great. We need to get her because, like, you know, I'm so impressed with, you know, your talents and whatnot. And then I saw you perform live, and I think everybody loved your performance, and we always want to have you again and again, because you're always surprised with your performance, with your honesty, with your quirkiness, you know, all that mix. So we'd like to hear from you how you're using your talents, the platforms, the music, for example, the genre in this case, to advocate for something more important, and also, you know, using digital technology or digital platform. So please, Taka, over to you.
Okay. 10 minutes starts now. I have a timer myself. Hello everyone. I am Taka, and wait, I need to share the screen. So I'm Taka. Quote unquote full name is Takahara Suiko. It's a fake name, but you deal with it, because long story short, I was sexually harassed when I was 11 on an online chat room. So I decided I should use a fake name. I should not tell people my real age or my real name. So yeah, beware of cyber attacks, guys. You have to take care of, you know, data privacy and whatnot, because I just had a data privacy forum a few days back. To try to give you an idea of how I start out writing is, I think it's something that probably everyone with siblings can relate. So how it first started out is, one day I had a fight with my brother. And you know, bila gaduh dengan abang, you always say like, I hate you, and you know, I want you to die, blah 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 blah. And back then I didn't have a diary, because before I was 14, my brother read my diary, so I don't have a diary anymore. I have a blog. So on that blog, I decided to write kutuk-kutuk my brother lah, macam, my brother is you're a horrible person, blah blah blah, you're shit, blah, blah, blah. And he saw the blog, he hacked into my blog and deleted all my posts and left one post that say, if you want to kutuk your brother, make sure he's not a hacker. The end. So from that point on, instead of writing things directly, and around the age of 14, you also learn at school, you know, like metaphors and hyperboles, I decided to use poetry to express my feelings. So if I was like, you know, angry at my mother or angry at my brother, I wrote poetry. I wrote tons and tons of poetry. So from that point on, it evolved into songwriting sometime around when I was 17. Fast forward later, because I'm trying to chase for time. Fast forward few years later, I was signed to a label. Left the label, and then after that we went on touring around the world. How I use my writing as a way to express myself or to advocate, quote unquote, is I try not to write about love songs, because one, everyone is already good at writing love songs. That's why they're on the radio. Second, because I don't have enough love experience. So, you know, my husband is literally my second boyfriend. So I don't have enough experience for love. So I don't write about love songs. I write about things that I care about, such as the deteriorating nature, my Nutella stock ran out, having to clean my room. So I write things that relates to me. Even at the age of 20, I wrote those things, which is embarrassing, but at the same time, I feel like the Nutella song was like one of the songs that I was proud of. Also a song that I wrote about roti john, because I was studying in Japan and, we couldn't get any roti john around. I was too lazy to make one. So I wrote a song about roti john. Never mind that. I have 1 minute and a half left to show you what I've done. So in recent years, what makes the advocacy more prominent is, I think, around last year during PKP, when I just decided, hey, let's, especially the first PKP, when I guess everyone was still okay and bored and not, suffering. I decided to write a song each day. And I did that for around 17 days. And here are the songs that you can see here. These are the songs. I uploaded them on Twitter and it got a lot of traction. And then end of last year, I deleted my Twitter because Twitter is toxic. So remember that. Be wary of what you consume online. But yeah, now that I have 30 seconds left before I start my next song, so I'm just gonna show you one of the songs that I did last year. It's about this song, Roti Gardenia. I don't know if you guys remember that there's a news where people were hoarding gardenia bread, and here's the song dedicated to that event.
Oh, gardenia sungguh enak dimakan begitu saja, sehingga licin habis disonglat tak mahal loba. Tarik lumpur dia tolak tepi, hanya 5 hari mampu makan roti. Dia beli bak makanan ruji, takkan lupa kita juga ada nasi, biskut dan kuaci bicirin pagi, berbagai keripik untuk dinikmati. Jangan diborong sampai penuh lori, beli banyak pun tak boleh bawa mati. Oh, gardenia sungguh enak dimakan begitu saja, sehingga sudah 3 minggu tak nampak bayangnya. Laju bagai peluru meluru, cari roti macam pergi memburu. Kalau jualnya beli 5 buku, macam pergi berkelah dekat Tanjung Ru. Takkan berselera makan roti saja, tahukah anda makanan lain pun ada. Oh, gardenia sungguh enak dimakan begitu saja, sehingga sudah 3 minggu tak nampak bayangnya. Gardenia sungguh enak dimakan begitu saja, sehingga licin habis disonglat tak mahal loba. Oh, gardenia, oh, gardenia, oh, gardenia, enak dimakan begitu saja.
So that was one of the songs that I did last year. No, I have to rush now because don't play that. I have to rush now. So from the 17 songs that I did throughout last year, I got a collaboration with WAO, Women's AIDS Organization, where we collaborated on me doing songs for the Sustainability Development Goals, SDGs. So I did like 8. I was supposed to do 17, but you know, mental health got in the way, so I only did 7. So one of them is this song. This song is about wasted food and greedy companies.
All that you can eat buffet gets wasted and thrown away. 1 billion tons into the dump. 2 billion people see none of them. Due to self-discrimination, those that get caught for consumption. Not that most basic advice. That wants to be no straight to buy. More than 1 billion of us have no fresh water access. We pollute the water faster than the nature can recover. All the corporate vouchers. Now we look on this number. Sustainable production. Since they work for generations. All that you can eat buffet gets wasted and thrown away. 1 billion tons into the dump. 2 billion people see none of them. All that you can eat buffet gets wasted and thrown away. 1 billion tons into the dump. 2 billion people see none of them. Don't take corporate vouchers. Now we look on this number. Sustainable production. Since they work for generations.
So yeah, that song is meant for TikTok mainly because I know, you know, the youth are on TikTok. So am I. I'm trying to be young, but there's a lot of funny things on TikTok. So I put that song on TikTok as well. And as you notice, there's like a lot of information going past. And it's one of the things that I learned from TikTok is even though you have tons of information on one video, you can just pause TikTok and read the whole thing. And yeah, that's all from me. I guess I don't know what else to add. I have 25 seconds left, but yeah, that's all. Yay. Vijaya.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Taka.
Yeah.
And you know, never short of surprise whenever you know we listen to you know your projects. And perhaps because you finish on time, I just want to sort of like highlight. I think there's one thing that sort of remind me whenever I watch your video. It reminds of a memory, you know, like the gardenia is like when someone watch it, they can instantly remember that, you know, that particular time. Like everybody knows, you can relate to everyone. So simple. It's a very simple idea, but somehow it will stick. You know, I think you have that. You know, your creativity has that sort of like stickiness to that one particular. I mean, of course, one of my favorite song of you was apa? Sorry, Ponggong or Buntut? Sorry, what? Oh,
Yes.
sorry, what's it called?
Tenangkan buntut anda.
Tenangkan buntut anda. You know, like, oh, what? Like, okay, well, we'll talk about that in the question. I have tons of questions for all of you. Like, but I got really excited. I hope all of you are all excited. I see a lot of the comments and stuff. The rest who are probably not very chatty, please drop something. At least say hi or I'm here. I enjoy it. You know, and I would like to remind you all also that because we have such a great speakers, and Natalie is coming up soon. We might end up slightly later than the time, the 5:30. I hope we can finish not too long from that time, and I hope you can stay and you're enjoying this. I hope you can spend a little bit more time with us as much as we want to spend time with you as well. Okay. All right. So thank you so much, Taka. I have some things I would like to ask you, some serious, not so serious question, casual, formal questions, but we'll take over to the next person. Let's welcome the last presenter, Natalie Hussein, on the virtual stage. Okay, Natalie, multimedia journalist and a TV host attached to Rage. And I mean, of course, most of the youth, I personally, love Rage. A lot of the stories that came out was, I would say, shocking, surprising, mind-blowing, eye-opening, and reaching out to more people. So Natalie is also former correspondent for E-News Malaysia, TV3, and Natalie became more aware of the lack of representation in Malaysian media, particularly with women of color. So when she's not drafting scripts or hosting a show, she will use the social media to amplify issues close to her heart. She can talk about this later. And this, based on all this, this has granted her opportunities to work and collaborate with inspiring movie makers like United Nations Population Fund, women's aid organization like Taka just now, Girls for Girls Malaysia, Spot and Monster, among us. So of course there are a lot of things that I would like to hear from Natalie as well. But I knew Natalie from I think 2018, if I'm not mistaken, Natalie, when she was still in the college, and she submitted with a project group. When she submitted one video, I mean the group submitted a video called Change Is Now for KL Eco Film Fest in 2018. And since then, because the short film or the video was very simple, easy to understand, we use it multiple times to school students. We use the content even to corporate. Even sometimes they see it as like, wow, even adult would think that, oh, okay, I can do this, like. And since then, I think you get more and more confidence, and you're finding your purpose to do something that you're really passionate about. And we like to hear from you and how you use your passion, and also using, of course, the digital platform to share about your talent. All right, over to you, Natalie.
Yay! Oh my gosh, I'm a little bit nervous. I don't know why. I think that's how long it's been since like I've dealt with people, because now we're just like at our homes the whole time. And of course, Lara and Taka did amazing. So I'm just like, oh, okay. So yeah, I think the recurring theme with Rage, that's the video investigative team at Star Media Group. The recurring theme is really human rights issues, social issues that are usually a little bit taboo. And this was really my introduction to advocacy in some way. So, oh, can you guys hear me? I'm hearing a bit of feedback, so I'm just
I think we're okay now. Is it better now?
Yeah, let me
still hearing feedback?
my earphones in.
All right, better now.
Can you guys hear me? Good?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. So examples of the kind of work that we did was, usually short form docu-series or documentaries on, child sexual grooming, racism in housing, rise in cyberbullying, the plight of migrant workers. And most recently, and related to today's theme, is I think we did one on pangolin poaching, as well as Orang Asli communities protecting what's left of their land. I didn't actively work on that. I still have a lot to learn about environment, but yeah, having worked on such projects with great journalists, it's really opened up my eyes to existing inequalities and injustices in this world that I'm like, whoa, we have to like change this. I think prior to working at Rage, I was just very ignorant. I was very like, there was so much I didn't know. I was just a uni student going around who, only really cared about myself. And then after, working with Rage, it's really granted me so much knowledge and confidence to speak out about, some of the issues that I kind of always cared about. I just didn't know where to start, so things like gender inequality, online gender-based violence, racism, colorism. And before I get into, like how I got into, more digital advocacy, I just want to do a recap. So next slide, please. Next slide. So what is digital advocacy? I think sometimes that can be confused, and I just like to see it as something that's digital advocacy is the use of new technology and media. So things like smartphones, social media, to create more awareness on something, whether it's a cause or a movement or a policy change. And I think that what goes hand in hand with that I think maybe is a new word that kind of popped up, is cyber activism. So I see cyber activism as a step after digital advocacy. It's where the action really comes in. It's where we use our gadgets and social media to create, operate, and manage how exactly to move forward with the movement. So cyber activism is really about the action itself, like what you can do, what individuals can do, and where you do the thing that can spark change. So things like petitions, hashtagging, spamming, even reposting articles, making content. I think that's all cyber activism. And next slide, please. Next slide, sorry. Right, so I think a prime example of digital advocacy turned cyber activism in terms of environmental issue is really the story of Greta Thunberg and climate change. So Greta, I mean, we all know her, is a Swedish student. Well, I don't think she's a student anymore, but at the time she was a 15-year-old Swedish student, and she organized student strikes for climate. And what started as an on-ground protest became a global movement, and social media played a huge role in where the movement is today and where she is today. You know, this young 15-year-old girl used social media to encourage students around the world to fight for their futures. And this went viral, the power of social media, crazy. And millions around the world saw that, you know, this was in the headlines, this was trending, and was like, hey, you know, I have to read up on this. What's this about carbon emissions? And when they did read up on it, they were, you know, furious. I was furious, where we felt like we needed to do something. And in terms of climate change and environmental issues, you know, people felt like they had to do something. Either they had to stand up to lawmakers, they had to stand up to large corporations. And that's when people started taking it more seriously, I would say, on the social media sphere. And, you know, that's an example of cyber activism right there. It led to her, you know, speaking at very important events hosted by the UN, meeting up with world leaders so that they could, you know, somehow compromise, come up with, you know, changes in the policies that will benefit our Earth. Next slide, please. But in terms of digital advocacy for myself, I noticed this in many others as well. I think COVID-19 played a huge role in how I personally advocate for certain things online. So I think during COVID-19, not only did, I think something like the internet use surged by 50 to 70%, but COVID really gave us time and space to learn and reflect on, you know, some of the world's biggest issues. And that essentially brought out, I think, the activists in many of us, because we didn't like what we were seeing. You couldn't do gatherings and protests and vigils during the pandemic. So what could you do? You could turn to, you know, social media. You could try to spark change there. And a big turning point for me personally is, you know, the death of, I don't remember how old he was. He maybe 18. Okay, but the death of Ahmaud Arbery, the Black American who was, you know, basically witch hunted and killed by, you know, racists while jogging in just a nearby neighborhood. And then shortly after, it was George Floyd. And that angered me because me as a brown person in Malaysia, like, I know that racism is a widespread issue. And it's always sort of been swept under the rug, or nobody really wants to talk about it. But regardless of where you are, you know, like, it's there. And there's a quote that's like, I think it's by Martin Luther King. I think it's something like, racism anywhere threatens the freedom of people everywhere. So I think that George Floyd case immediately resonated with so many people around the world. You know, though Black Lives Matter movement was nothing new, the power of it this time around was unlike before. At least that's how I felt. There was a higher volume of people tuning in from their homes, wanting to learn and talk about it and fight for, you know, this injustice. So they turned to social media to advocate. And I think it really empowered Malaysians and myself to talk about something we always felt was a taboo. I personally felt, you know, comfortable talking about some of the experiences that I had with racism. And then from that, it went into sexism. And then, you know, it just kept going, and it just felt right. It felt like, you know, using my social media to talk about an issue as pertinent as this was important, especially when you realize that other people experience it too. It's not anything to be ashamed of. You know, you realize after that, oh, you know, I'm actually, you know, learning as we go along. Everybody's learning, and there are, you know, there's like 7 billion people in this world. There's definitely going to be someone who resonate with you. Yeah, and I think over COVID-19, just moving back to how I think COVID-19 really like catapulted, you know, digital advocacy and content making, is you started seeing many more Malaysians seeking comfort in digital spaces. As you know, Malaysian student Ayn kickstarted the hashtag Make School a Safer Place movement, and was able to basically normalize conversation on sex education among students, teachers, counselors, lawmakers, adults. And I think that's a big deal for a country that has long swept sexual violence under the rug or even trivialized. It sucks that anybody even has to talk about that, but the fact that, you know, it's happening now and nobody can really escape it because we're all stuck at home, we're all stuck on the internet, we're all tuned into the internet. Yeah. Anyways, I feel like I'm just rambling. It's so weird hearing my own voice for a very long time. I'm not sure how much time I still have. Let me just
you have about like few minutes, but
3
okay.
minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. Go on. It's okay.
In terms of, I know today we're talking a lot about, you know, sustainability and environmental issues, and you know, I've made very clear that I still have a lot more to learn. Most of the things that I advocate for now online is, you know, things like, you know, anti-sexual harassment, advocating for a sexual harassment bill to be passed, colorism, racism. Those are the things that I normally talk about. And so just kind of like rewinding back, I started at Rage, working on, you know, these issues, and I would only put out, you know, advocacy energy really in those works. But now I think because there's a little bit more free time, I'm a little bit like more restless at home, and there's a lot of more effed up things that I see in this world that I'm starting to use my own social media. So I use things like TikTok and Facebook and, well, not Facebook, sorry, Instagram and TikTok to really voice out some of the things that I wish could change. And thankfully, you know, there are people who, you know, also feel the same way or feel like what I'm putting out is something that, you know, they thought all along, but they just didn't know how to say it. And I think that that's a reward in itself. But anyways, moving on to my next slide. I have like 2 minutes left, I think. Next slide, please. So the dark side of digital advocacy. I'm pretty sure that, you know, people like Taka probably, you know, get a little bit of heat as well online. But from my experience, being more vocal about things and putting it on an online space is really, I mean, it puts you in a vulnerable position because there are always going to be people, a huge amount of people that are happy with the status quo and they don't want to change anything. So to see other people like myself who, you know, want to talk about, you know, racism, want to talk about, you know, pedophilia and child marriage, you know, they're not happy with that because, you know, maybe they're fine with the status quo. And yeah, so I think that the dark side of digital advocacy is really the hate and the harassment. It's sad, but it's part and parcel in using your voice online. And it's jarring at first, but I've kind of stopped looking at it as a bad thing because if you think about it, like I said before, there are 7 billion people in this world, and at least half will disagree with you, and that's okay. I'm always condemning racism and sexual abuse, and that sometimes doesn't sit well with some Malaysians. They feel the condemnation is a little bit of an attack on them. And it's sad, but you got to speak out, you know? Yeah, and the ability, the other thing I was going to say, oh, shoot, I totally forgot. Yes, okay. So yeah, I think the ability for anyone to have a platform and speak is both a blessing and a curse because people are able to use their platforms, yes, to create awareness and spark change, but also this applies to like hate groups and conspiracy groups and theories and hate speech groups creating like xenophobia and all that and starting fake news. And yeah, I think the truth about digital advocacy and cyber activism, it's actually both a blessing and a curse, you know, no matter what side you're on. Yeah, so I think I'm going to wrap it up there. And then I think any other points that I couldn't make, hopefully I can make it in the next segment where we do a Q&A. Yeah, I hope you guys found that interesting.
Thank you so much, Natalie.
Yeah.
Well, I'm writing pointers and stuff, you know, based on what you shared and all the stuff that the other speakers are sharing as well. And of course, I have plenty more questions I would like to share and ask to all of you during this next segment, which is a panel discussion. So I would like to welcome all of the speakers, and of course the audience to join us in the panel discussion. Okay, now we have everyone on the same page now. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you yawning?
yes. It's fine. You can yawn. You can do whatever you want. This is quite
my
informal.
session was that boring.
No,
I think it's time for high
it's
tea.
just
But
me.
yes. Okay. So before we continue, just a little bit of sort of like I would say not housekeeping, just something I would like to ask from all the other listeners, the participants. Please, I know we've received plenty of questions as well, but keep sending any questions. Don't worry if the question is too simple or it's too complicated. Just share, because even if you cannot answer it now, we will share it with the speakers, and hopefully, they will be able to give some feedbacks on the questions through writing, and we can share it later as well. Because I think it's very, very important to use this platform to have discussions and to have communication, so that we want to hear. Actually, the point of Project Vocal is we want to hear what the youth are thinking about, right? We want these things that they have been thinking out to the speakers, so that there will be interaction, there'll be dialogues happening. All right, so we hope that you can keep coming up with questions to any of them. We'll try and answer as many as we can. Okay, so next session is the Q&A. So of course, I would like to again, maybe the first question will be generally to all of you, then we can go slightly into a different or deeper topic. Since we all talk about digital advocacy now, right? And there's a lot of means to that, social media, using videography, photography, videos, journal, like writing, ebooks, even games, right? And different sort of platforms and podcasts, YouTube, and all sorts of things that is currently being presented and being used, and it changes every day, right? Every time there's a new platforms, new apps, new things that being introduced to you. But how do you think all these things can advocate for social or sustainability issues such as climate change or conservation effort or even human rights? What does it mean really, the digital advocacy, to each of you? Perhaps we can start with Lara. What does it mean, Lara? Digital advocacy.
I find it very interesting, because at the end of the day, I think it's who is your audience. So I think and we've always found this very important for the films that we make. Who am I speaking to? So, for example, if I'm speaking to a politician who has the potential to make a change, I probably will not speak to him the same as how I would like to speak to someone young, because they don't understand. They have a different way of thinking. So I think it's important to understand who you're talking to. So, for example, even if you don't mind me saying, I'm going to be honest, is that, for example, Rage, when you're outreach, again, it's very much towards an English-speaking audience. So, you are only being able to capture that particular demographic to a certain extent, and so who do you want to advocate to? I would always, who is it that you want to get the message out to? And so that I think that I think it will change with who you want to speak to.
Okay, all right. How about you, Taka?
Oh
yeah.
I agree with what Madam Lara said about the target audience.
What do we
Miss.
we could call Lara?
Yes,
Miss Lara?
My liege.
Okay.
My queen.
Madame.
Madame.
Queen.
I agree with what she said when it comes to like who's your target audience. And I think when it comes to the internet, if I were to post on Facebook, I know how to direct my audience, which is I would expect people around my parents' age. And if I were on Twitter or TikTok, I know people who are younger than I am would be on there frequently. So yes, I don't know if I answered the question. I'm just
That
repeating.
is fine. Sorry, there's no right or wrong. We just want to hear your your thoughts about it. It's okay. We'll keep continuing. Natalie, what about you?
Sorry. Wait.
What does it
repeat
mean?
the
Digital advocacy. You know, all this platform, all these things, you try to bring a voice out. What does it really mean to you as a person, as an individual?
I feel like I see it as like a vote, like, you know how that's our democratic right. I kind of see like using, if you are, you know, tech savvy and you want to use, if you are active on social media, I see like using your voice and your platform as like, that's your say in democracy. But I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Because you just mentioned in your presentation, you know, I have this, you know, we talk about being trolled, being harassed and stuff like that. And there's this situation where I think personally, you know, what about people who are championing an issue, but they're also behind the screen? We don't know who they are. Like how valid it is their you know their cause that they're championing, because they are still without you know, like what do you call it? With all due respect, you know, if you put like people who troll people and people who fighting for something, but they're all sitting behind the desk. That's one. Secondly is you also mentioned that, you know, you're trying to push for the anti-sexual harassment bill just now, right, Natalie?
Yeah.
How do you think that using the digital platform, can actually really push for policy change? Because people only think that policy change has to be, you know, going to do things, you know, in the ministry or stuff like that. How do you think like using really the voice from the digital platforms to actually really push policy to change?
I think that's a good question, because I think that I feel like they supplement each other, like on-ground activation, the people doing the on-ground work, you know, lobbying for it, making phone calls, actually the NGOs on ground, I feel like they play a large role. And I feel like the people that talk about it and that, you know, are noisy about it online, they help create awareness and place pressure on lawmakers and try to create like a buzz and try to raise awareness on like, hey, this isn't right. Like, what do you think about it? Like, I don't think that this is right. Do you think this is right? If you don't think it's right, maybe we should petition for this. And then that kind of like, I don't know, I feel like that sets the stage. And then, I mean, I think it complements what the people on ground are already doing, like the NGOs.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Lara, because you do a lot of documentaries and your content are mostly about nature, about animals, right? It's like giving a voice to the voiceless. Right? What is it like? Why do you think like it's very important to sort of highlight this, you know, to people, to your audience?
Well, I think, you know, for me, I mean, you know, I think, yeah, it is a voice for the voiceless. I mean, we've been, I think when you watch the Clouded Leopard episode next week, you'll see a Clouded Leopard is walking around in the jungle with 3 legs. He has
with 3 legs.
Yeah, so it was caught in a snare. So
really, oh
no, for you know, all animals that don't have a voice, you know, sort of getting it out there to get people to care, you know. So that for me is important. But you know, working with you know, I think just something that I wanted to react to, you know, when we talk about freedom here in Malaysia, I'm sorry to say, I don't think it doesn't exist for many of us. You know? So if you are restricted, and I admire those that don't care and will just speak their mind. As long as you're speaking your mind in an honest and sincere way, and the information that you come up with is truthful, and I really support those that sometimes tak takut, you know. But the reality here, you are restricted. We've had many of our films censored. Can you imagine a documentary being censored? There was once that we did a film. Now this will be shocking to you guys. It was a film about UNESCO World Heritage Site Malacca, I think. and it was being shown on, I think it was being shown on RTM. So I got a call from RTM and they called me up and says, Lara, you have to come in. There's something wrong with your film. And I'm like, what can be wrong about a film on Melaka, right? And when I came in, he says, oh, you banyak sangat crosses lah in your film. Banyak cross.
Huh?
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Mm.
No, and I'm like, all right. So what do? You know, this film was meant for, it was meant for, we had to reduce the crosses in our film. So, I mean, the sad part about it is I'm like shocked. I was like, what is there to censor in my film? There's nothing, you know? And over our career, we've had to toe the line in a few circumstances.
Right.
And I will be happy that when the day comes when we are no longer self-censoring ourselves even. So you get to a stage where you think, can I say that? You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's quite sad lah.
Yeah, like what do I have to wear to meet this person, you know?
Yeah.
I saw Justin Bieber who met the France president, right? Like was wearing just like sneakers and stuff. Like in here, like do I have to wear all these things? You know, like like we're doing it for other people.
So
right?
Definitely does exist here.
Yeah.
I completely agree with what Lara said. Like, I see voicing out online as like our own right as citizens, but there is a lot of self-censoring, and I do that all the time, because I'm attached to a corporation, a large corporation, and I don't want to kutip. Is that what it is?
Oh, wow.
There's so it's like, I don't know if anybody's watching this who watches my TikTok, but that is why in my TikTok I'm always like, this person said allegedly, because like it's like you honestly at this point, like it just doesn't feel like there's too much freedom of speech at the moment,
right?
Yeah. And yeah, like it's so sad that and it's affecting our creatives, like our filmmakers and our writers and our script writers, because I work with some of my colleagues have their own projects, their own passion projects on the side, and they also can't really, they feel demotivated when they have to self-censor, or when somebody from this legal team says, oh, you can't do that, you can't say that. It's so sad, because it really, I think it pushes down our creatives, and it's so sad. I'm pretty sure like Lara has seen it time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, on this topic, because I think it's moved really, I think, seamlessly to Taka. This question is what I think I've been thinking about, breaking stereotype, because like you said, the freedom of expressing yourself, and Lara said, this is very important, and Natalie, I'm sure you agree, breaking stereotypes. Not to stereotype, because I really accept everyone, you, Taka, and everyone, like appreciate all your talents as a person. But, having a public image, people might think that, okay, a certain person with a certain gender, with a certain type of wearing appearance, like cannot say something like this. Why would this person say bodoh? Or why would person say something that would be like, this is unbecoming of you? Things like that. Right? I'm sure all of us, if not just women, I think sometimes, for me, sometimes I always think about that. Also, can I say this? Would I hurt someone's feeling if I say something that I feel truthful to myself? But to you, what do you think? How do you just do what you believe in doing? And how do you deal with that? Of course, with the trolls. I think one of the questions I could relate to this, which is how do you deal with this as well? All the pressures from, again, people who you don't know, especially, right?
I think the question can relate to this other question by Adeline that asked me, any type of marketing is good marketing, but what do you think if advocates use the same way, would it reach the same engagement? There's always, there will always be people who hate you no matter what you do, no matter what you say. And what's the point of focusing on them? It's cliche AF, but it's true. Like, why focus on them when you can just do what you're good at? So what I'm good at is annoying people. So I annoy those people even more. Like, okay, you don't like a person wearing tudung saying the word bodoh or whatever not. I will annoy you even more because I know this will get you annoyed, but at the same time, it will get you the attention as to what I'm annoying you for. You get what I mean? Macam I know the title, let's say the title of this song is Tenakan Bontot Anda. Macam, kenapa dia pakai perkataan bontot in her song? And they watch the video and they like the song. That's what happened most of the time. Like I was expecting to get angry at this song, but I ended up singing along to the entire song. So it's publicity is apa? Any publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
So I used that controversy to get people to the something that they need to give their attention to. Like songs that I've written during PKP is, even though it's about even though it's about things that people are angry about, macam last year where people langgar SOP, I write a song about that just to make them focus, not only to like compartmentalize my rage, but also to make people see that, hey, this is a thing that happened and it's up to you whether you want to be angry about it or not, but this thing happened. Do you want to make an example of this? Do you want to be like this person? No, right? Okay, so we move on. And the songs that I write about with SDG for WAO, it's eye-catching. Like I try to make the title, the thumbnail or the title intriguing, so that it's a bit of a clickbait kind of thing, but I clickbait you into watching a video about turtles dying. So you have to care about turtles now, whether you like it or not. So that's how I go about it lah. And about dealing with haters, I practice what my husband does when he had to deal with haters, which is to confuse them. And how we confuse them is, let's say macam, I hate your video, you said bodoh, you wear tudung, you're not supposed to do that. But if he were to get something hateful like that, what he would do is, he would send a meme or a GIF that has nothing to do with the response. So the person who said hateful things, they were like, Asal, wait, what? I'm confused. Wait, what? So,
that is so smart.
Can. I really
Good
like
tips,
the
life tips. This is a life tips. Everyone should learn how to deal with haters. If you
I
want
love
to
that.
become an advocate in something, right?
Yeah,
You
and
have
then they
to
would get
be
so confused.
Be prepared with, like how to deal with this. Otherwise,
Oh
it's
my
so
God.
hard to, to be resilient in dealing with this, right? Okay, cool. Very
So
good.
yeah,
Thanks
confuse
for that.
people.
Yeah, Lara, I have this question from I think two person, but I'd like to sort of combine. Number one is about passion, because passion in writing and filmmaking about and creatives lah in this case, and but struggle to share the work in public. I'm sure a lot of people feel like the fear of criticism, being trolled, or even like whether I'm good enough, whether any words of encouragement, and then equally, I think that this is related to also another type of people who passionate about so many things. How do you prioritize between someone who's focused, who really want to achieve something like script writing or filmmaking, and then someone who loves everything? How do you balance each of these, right?
I think in terms of one thing I think you sort of learn as you go along is that you can't please everyone. You cannot make content that everybody is gonna like. So be it lah. You tak suka lah. You reach a stage where it's okay. It's okay. I'm okay if you don't like my work. So and you need to just water off a duck's back. Just move on, and I think don't be discouraged if someone comes up to you and criticizes your work. Kata aku lah kena buat apa kind of thing, but of course for us, in terms of, as a profession, you're always striving, to do, good stuff, right? I mean, so at one stage, we would make sure we try and put our films in for awards, and to be able to get our films watched to as many places as possible. And I think that boils down to really more the filmmaking ego of your side, that you've reached a certain level of achievement in your work, but it's not really that important. So, and don't get too macam nak sangat tergila-gila to get that credit. I think be sincere in what you want to do and what you want to achieve.
Be sincere. Yeah.
Passionate about everything. Yeah,
like the internet allows, makes you consume so many things. I mean, Natalie perhaps can agree with me, or even Taka. Like we want to champion, for example, equality, human rights, these so many things. How do you, in the end, how do you decide to sort of like, okay, what can I do? What am I supposed to do now with all the things that I'm passionate about?
I think you should choose, because at the end of the day, if you do too many things, you can never concentrate. That's why, to a certain extent, we have chosen Tigers, to push forward as our main cause. And believe me, that in itself takes so much of our time, so much of our energy. And I think that if I were to suddenly, as much as I love Clouded Leopards, I can tell you that now after doing the film of Clouded Leopards, is that no, I've got to focus and keep going on that, and don't get distracted, because I have a purpose to do. And I think it's fine. You might do it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years. But if you want to do something new, hey, do something new, And I think whatever calls out to you, I think that you should try and give that as much airtime to a certain extent. If you're passionate about, and I think that's a nice thing about doing docs, because you do so many different docs, right? So, I mean, we've done docs on cancer survivors, and you sort of get all engrossed in and understanding what they go through, and then you move on and you do something else, about a different cause, a different problem, or different cause. Okay? So you sort of move, and you sort of then get engrossed in that, So that's the nice thing about doing docs, is that actually you can move from one to the next, and but for us, I think now is the focus is just getting stuff done on Tigers.
Right. Okay, thank you. So for the benefit of the participants, actually I've already asking questions from the audience. Yeah. So please still send your questions. Talking about that, Lara, I'd like to jump a little bit to Natalie. You mentioned just now, because of all these issues, and we can see that you are passionate about advocating, various causes. And you're also active on social media, like Instagram. You have quite a follower on TikTok, and you can see that you always balance between your work, which is what you're passionate about in terms of cause, and then of course some entertainment stuff as well. Like doing maybe some dancing, doing TikTok stuff. How do you? Yeah, but really, because people would think that, for example, like someone like Greta Thunberg has to always talk about a serious matter. Cannot talk about something fun. Cannot talk about something casual. Cannot dance. And if you dance, that means I cannot take your words because you're not serious about what you do. Like what do you think? Like how do you balance, and how do you make sure that your audience can still agree with the causes that you are championing and follow you on that, and as well as enjoying other elements of your talents?
That's a good question. Can you guys hear me? Am I
Yes.
Okay. By the way, if I just randomly go, it's because there's a thunder and I'm like really scared of it. So I'll be like, and it's like it's like a rainstorm outside. So just wanted to say that. Also,
we can hear it.
Yeah, Ken, before I answer your question, I wanted to also add to what Lara said, which is like, I think nowadays as well, like, people who generally speak out on social media, they receive a lot of pressure, at least I do, and I know my friends do, receive a lot of pressure to talk about all these different issues, because, whether I'm talking about, Palestine, somebody will be like, oh, well, you're not saying anything about the concentration camp in Xinjiang, like people like to invalidate you by being like, oh, you're being biased, you're not talking about this and this and this. And I used to feel really upset about it. I was like, to the point where I felt like, oh no, I have to talk about this issue. Okay, tomorrow I have to make a video about this issue, or somebody brought up this issue in the comment, I have to bring it up. But then what Lara said, you have to do what makes you tick, right? And how I look at it is, even if you were to spend every single hour of the day trying to and your whole lifetime dedicated to talking about social issues or environmental issues, you will never get to cover all of it because there's too many. So at the end of the day, you have to choose the ones that you are most passionate about. Sorry, I'm just very like touchy about that, because I get very angry when people do that. Like, it's so common online for people to be like, oh, well, you're not talking about this, like you're not talking about that. How about France? How about their, like, it's, they try to throw all these things, they try to invalidate what you're saying, that way, and it's just not fair. Like, it's sort of like the whole not all men thing, where you'll talk about how women are more susceptible to sexual violence, and then guys who get a little bit, not just guys, but people who get a little bit defensive will be like, well, not all men do that, like, let's talk about the men who are murdered, da 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 da. So it's like, there's a lot of that in it, and it happens with any issue that you talk about. Anyways, rant over. The question that you had earlier was, how do I balance like serious topics in my regular content, and how do I make it a little bit more lighthearted? Oh, that's a good question. I think, okay, so I started talking about important issues by doing something I was most comfortable with, which was dancing. Because I used to want to be a dancer, and I felt like maybe I wasn't smart enough, or my voice wasn't strong enough. So I would, just learn random TikTok dances, and then in between I would like put important messages, prevalence of sexual violence in Malaysia, stuff like that, and that got, I think it tricked the TikTok's algorithm into favoring it and showing it to more people. So it meant there were more eyes on, these important issues. And I think how you balance it is, I'm still learning. I don't even know the answer to that. I think how you balance it is, I try to be as straightforward as possible. I keep it really factual. I cite, I maybe I'll present it in a really lighthearted way through a dance, or through, like a scene of a beach or something like that. But I'll always include, my sources, so that people understand, like, actually, this is real information and this is serious and you should look it up. I don't know if I answered your question.
It's okay, don't worry. I mean, it's fine. I mean, like I said, there's no right. We just want to hear your point of view. You don't have to have the answer. I mean, there's no correct answer anyway. But just a little bit on the question from one of our participants, because you mentioned just now that because you are working with corporation and there are things that you cannot say. Even Lara mentioned about censorship on the documentary, right? Like, do you use that opportunity of having your own personal platform to say something that you couldn't otherwise say when you're working? Like Lara, for example, is the same, like, because you're doing a video for National Geographic or for TV3 or for RTM, and you have to do a certain way of what they sort of expect you to do, what you cannot say. But do you use your own personal platform to say something that you think are probably more, I can't say more controversial, but something more truthful, more truthful. I mean, for Taka, I know because, she's been using a platform, but you can share your opinion as well. But do you use your personal platform to express your own opinion beyond what your corporation?
I try to hide it. I say it, but I try to hide it behind oh no, everyone's gonna know my secret. I try to hide it behind using lines like, oh, a report states that this and this, and netizens are concerned because so and so is happening, this and this did that. Why is hashtag
like asking for a friend, something like that, you know, like asking for a friend.
Why is hashtag Kerajaan Gagal trending? And then I'll talk about it. But yeah, there is a level of censorship, you know, because I'm tied to a corporation, and I mean, even though I'm a little bit more outspoken on my TikTok and on Instagram, I still know that I'm representing a company, and that I cannot, you know, what I do is going to be reflected on the company. But, you know, fingers crossed that nothing happens to me.
Okay, perhaps I have probably last question for each of you. We'll probably start with Lara. I think one of the things that I can sort of not summarize lah. I mean, you know, I can get from you, as you know, is resilience. You know, like going into the jungle, having family, juggle, working with your husband. It takes some kind of, I don't know, some kind of strength in there. The word that I can feel it, the word that comes to my mind is resilient. You know, being able to just go through with all these things and just make it happen, or just make sure that it's, you know, it's done the right way. So can you please just talk about, you know, resilience in you know, in following or driving your passion? You know, I mean, that all of them can take some points too.
I think nothing in life comes easy, and I think, you know, in everything that you do. I remember one of the, you know, when I first got married, my mom said to me, Lara, marriage is not a bed of roses, you know. So I always think that, you know, you need to work hard at everything that you want to achieve. And I'm not I think that as long as you put in the, you know, the effort in everything that you do, inshallah, everything will come out smoothly. You know, I do believe that it is about putting time in, putting effort in, and whatever effort that you put in, somehow or another will come back to benefit you, whether it's your marriage, or whether it's your kids, or whether it's your, you know, your career. Yeah, just you know, put in the effort, and it'll be good. It'll be good.
Okay, thank you. Natalie, again, probably my last question to you before we do the wrap up is that yeah, some tips on how to, again, you know, be an influential voice of, you know, the youth. You know, I mean, again, like I said, I think, you know, you from college, you know, doing something, and then going to Rage and all that, and then using a platform, all this, trying to really bring this up, and you're very vocal in what you believe in. Is there, you know, would you like to share some, I would say, words of encouragement to them, or some tips, and, you know, how anyone can start do something on digital, you know?
Never, because I think we live the social media, like because we live in a time of like digital clout. Everybody's searching for something called clout. It's like, you know, influence, attention. I would say never do anything for that. But I mean, it's cliche, but do what makes you tick, you know, say how you feel. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. Don't be afraid to mess up, because you learn from your mistakes. There's a lot of people that get called out online, you know, when they first post stuff, because maybe their, you know, their stuff is one-sided. But yeah, like I mean, yeah, just do you, you know, just stay loud, use your voice. If you feel like you want to use your voice, you know, do that. Use social media. It's a great way to get yourself out there and just to gain confidence and to speak about the things that you really care about, because chances are there are going to be like a million other people that feel the same way you do. So as long as you're not inciting hate or causing irreversible harm, I think that you do what makes you tick. If you want to build a platform, you know, go for it. Yeah, that was very cliche, but I mean, yeah.
I mean, people needs reminding. Or sometimes the simple things are, you know, keeping people intact, focused back. You know, like just this, all the simple stuff. And then thank you so much, Natalie.
No worries.
Taka.
Thank you.
You.
You know, always inspired by your creativity. Any I would say tips, anything you'd like to say on how to stay true to yourself, how to really express, you know, like ability to express something like the music that you showed just now. I mean, it sounds like it feels like anyone can write it, but no one can write it, you know. It feels like senangnya these words kan, like using gardenia, but I don't think anyone can do this. Not many people can do this. Like, how do you really drill down to the simplest thing and do something that, you know, you really believe in, and not worry about people judging you or whatever that you put on the, you know, on the digital platforms. Yeah,
I think the first thing you have to do is get a sibling and argue with them first and foremost, and then it will kickstart everything. But I think what's important is don't censor yourself. Because I know we were taught to censor ourselves. We were taught to not question. And being a teenage person, we want to, you know, rebel. This is the time to rebel. This is the time to ask questions that you feel like, oh my God, should I ask this question? It sounds so wrong. This is the time to ask those questions that you feel like, am I allowed to ask this? Yes, you are. Now's the time. It's time to unlearn. Gitu. Unlearning is also learning, and it's an ongoing process. Like even right now, I'm trying to unlearn stuff that I've learned, and I'm trying to learn stuff. So yeah, I think by not censoring yourself, it helps on being truthful lah. Betul aku cakap ni. Yes.
It's okay. Sure. I mean, like really, we're absorbing it. You cannot say that, oh, you're making sense. Not is really just absorbing everything that you all are
not
saying.
Making sense also is being truthful to yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with you. Right. Sometimes, you know, we're not perfect. Sometimes we just see something that might be wrong, or might not resonate with many people, but it might be, you know, might be in the future. Okay. Before we end, and before I have a promotion towards the end that I want, but before I promote something from Project Vocal and from Equinize, I would like you all to take the last opportunity to plug. You know, you have a minute, each one of you. Just about 1 minute. Just say something to the end, like if you are launching anything new, the new stuff that you're going to showcase, or your social media platform that you want people to check out, because we want this group, the participants, to not end it here, because we want it to be an extension of, you know, something beyond this. You know, if you are interested in what Taka does, how should you check out what she's doing? Natalie, how can I know about all the stuff that you are doing? And then of course, Lara, what's happening next, and what's the 52 episodes about? So please, probably again in order of the presenter, we'll start with Lara. Lara, 1 minute, just something that you want to plug in so everyone can follow up.
Well, Lia for sure. It's coming out next Friday. The first episode will be on YouTube. And I think you can just follow us on Lia. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, I would love for all of you to know more about your environment. You know, take a bigger role in it. And I think that's it. Laya Lia is something that I'm passionate about.
Where is it? Where can we find Laya Lia? Like
Laya
YouTube?
Lia
Is there like a link that you can share maybe?
I will share the link with you.
Okay.
And
Lara will write the link on the chat box later, yeah? Okay.
and the other thing is, of course, rimau.ngo. So I've always said, at the end of the day, I love people to volunteer their time. I think in life, kalau boleh, give what you can give. So for me as a filmmaker, I will make films, and if people need a film for a particular subject, I will contribute my efforts in making the film. So, I mean, if you can give back somehow, I think that's the most important thing in life. Whether you make cakes or write songs, or if you can somehow contribute towards giving back to society, I think that's important.
Thank you so much, Lara. Okay, Laya, Liar, and rimau.ngo on Instagram. Check it out. Wonderful. Keep doing it, Lara. We all hope that there are more people will be, learning more about our nature in Malaysia and also the rimau. Okay, next, Taka. 1 minute, Taka. Plus minus.
I only have one thing to promote. I have a live show on IG tomorrow at 9 p.m. I don't know what time you guys sleep or don't sleep. It will be at Instagram, Rio in the City Instagram, RIUH in the City. That's all.
Where can you find your content? Like where are you most active, perhaps?
Instagram.com/Takahara Suiko.
Okay, Instagram, yeah. Yeah, and also a show tomorrow with Rio in the City. So please check it out and get in tune with Taka, okay? All right, Natalie, 1 minute. Anything you would like to share professionally, personally? How people can reach out to you and get to know more about your cause? Oh, I think you're mute.
Sorry, guys. Yes, so obviously we haven't really been producing as much on Rage lately because of some, changes in the company. But one thing that I'm working on is a collaboration between, it's a collaboration between Rage, the NGO Farham, which is a Federation of Reproductive Health Association, and UNICEF Malaysia, to come out with something called Anna Chatbot. It's a sex education chatbot made for younger people, for teens and young people, so people from 13 to 24, something like that. And it will be like a, I think when we do launch, which I think is going to be the end of next month or the month after, but most likely end of July, I really hope that everybody can share, because I think we need to normalize the conversation on reproductive health and sex amongst kids, because, teen pregnancies, child marriage, all that, it's all intertwined. And I think that it will really help. And I hope that, sometimes in schools, adults may not feel comfortable talking about sex ed in classes, and Anna Chatbot is a great way for students to learn about their bodies, learn about consent, autonomy, all that. It's not just about sex. It's you can ask this chatbot about periods as well. So I really hope that everybody will take the time to share. But on top of that, if you guys want to follow me on TikTok, where I'm most active and do most of my rants, feel free to follow me as well. That's Natalie is asleep. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna put the social media of the Anna Chatbot stakeholders.
Right.
So remember, Anna Chatbot, sex education chatbot.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And allow me to do a bit of promotion here, okay? So great news to all vocalists. That means all the participants or the registered of the Project Vocals. Project Vocals currently has a mentorship program. Yeah, it's going on. It's called Pitch Your Voice. I know it sounds cliche, but we wanted to come out with Pitch Perfect, but it's already being like trademarked. So Pitch Your Voice, calling for all youth groups in Malaysia who are working on projects tackling climate-related issues to submit their project pitch to us. So if you are youth and project worker members, you can submit your projects. We will have ambassadors and advisors as project workers, youth committees, guiding and working together with this group, the selected groups, with opportunities of seed funds as well. We'll give a sort of like a small grant, and that they can use to further improve their projects, and more opportunities for these youth to mobilize and expand their project movement further. So the deadline for project proposal submission is 27th of July, which is about a month from now, still a bit of time. And you can check on the link in the chat box, or you can go to our website and check on it, or our social media. You can check. So what we want is any of the youth groups that is already doing something on the ground. Doesn't matter, education, action, any kind of project within the age group, you can submit your project. If it's accepted, you will be paired with a mentor, which is the advisors and the ambassadors of project workers, and they will help you to sort of guide you to improve or give you some networking access and whatnot. And also we'll have some sort of seed grants that we are giving away for them to sort of enable their project. So really, this is again, like Lara said, we're looking for some money so that we can put the money back and action can be taken. So this is what Project Workers is trying to do from our, in our capacity. We need to reach out to more. So if you know, even the speakers, if you know anyone within the age, you can sign up, send out a proposal. Hopefully you get accepted, and you can, hopefully create a little bit more impact with the support that we are trying to provide for all these youth. So I hope that that's it for today. Thank you so much to everyone to participate. Of course, to the speakers, it's really wonderful. I hope we have I was hoping that we had 3 hours, 4 hours to talk, but knowing that everyone has commitments and it's a Saturday. Thank you so much. So lastly, we want to do a wrap up and photography session. We'd like to take the photo, and I would like to thank again the speakers, the participants, the funder, which is the GF SGP of UNDP Malaysia. And please follow our IG Project Vocal, our Twitter Project_Vocal for latest news, our websites, and of course follow all these speakers. If you want, you can follow me, but no worries. Can we all take a group photo? One last group photo with everyone. Wait, someone from the back end will do the sort of like a coordination.
Hi everyone, Farah here.
Yes, Farah.
You guys can turn on your camera.
Please, if you can turn on the camera, we appreciate
Show
it.
your pretty tired face.
I want to see everybody.
Yay, they're turning it on.
Woo! Hi guys. Oh my god, everybody has such nice smile.
Thank you so much. I saw a lot of questions, and some of you really thank you for joining. I really hope that you enjoyed the discussion. Come on, everyone, please. If you can have your camera on for another like 10 seconds before we screenshot.
Okay, Sarah will be taking the photo. So Sarah, you can take first screen and the second screen, kan? Okay.
Hello, hi. We have two screen right now. Okay, you guys ready?
Yes.
All right. First one, smile. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. All right. Next screen. Ready?
Senyum je. We don't know which screen we are.
I don't know how to pose. I'm running out of poses.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. You're good.
Okay.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much
everybody.
again. Thank you so much, and please drop us. Let's get connected. Okay, and without further ado, and finally, have a great weekend ahead. Please stay safe and stay well. Please get vaccinated. Yeah, please get vaccine. Okay, all right.
Yes.
Yeah, believe in the science, everyone. Okay, and thank you so much.
Yes.
And take care. Assalamualaikum. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.